Studies reveal that almost half of young people in South Africa have experienced some form of abuse in their lives. Violence against children remains a terrible challenge facing our society. Now, today marks National Children's Day, an occasion that puts the spotlight on the country's need to protect the most vulnerable. Clinical Director at the Teddy Bear Clinic for Abused Children, Shaheda Omar, joins us now for more and to explore ways that government should adopt to reverse this scourge. A very good afternoon to you, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. Now, let's start with the scourge and how worse it's gotten over the advent of the pandemic. We ourselves as eNCA have reported a number of stories where mothers and fathers and guardians are murdering their children for various reasons, and this is a trend that has grown over the last 3 years. What would you say contributes to the heightened level of violence against children?
Well, I think we need to look at the many challenges and risk factors that contribute to this kind of scourge of violence against children. You have alluded to the maternal filicide, paternal filicide, which falls under the umbrella of gender-based violence and femicide. And absolutely, we are seeing an increased incidence of more and more families coming to a destructive, devastated end, where out of altruism, the typical belief or that it is in the best interest and welfare of the children, the mother, to actually bring their lives to an end. And we see this often in cases where there is gender-based violence, intimate partner violence, but also looking at economic conditions and the impoverished situation where families are feeling hopeless, helpless, totally out of control. But even another factor that we have to look at, that because of these socioeconomic problems, the psychosocial ills, it also impacts on the mental health of individuals. And as a result, because of the toxic stress, the toxic masculinity that families are often faced with, the partner would often resort to a situation where they feel the only way out, they feel trapped, immobilized, and the only way out is actually taking their lives and even their children's lives, destroying the whole family. And usually it's because of depression, underlying ongoing chronic states of feeling hopeless, helpless, feeling that there is no escape, and then this would be the best way out. So there are many factors that one needs to consider. But if we just look at National Children's Day and what have we advanced, how far have we actually realized and promoted the rights of children? In this day and age, we talk about every child, every right. Every child has a right and the right to education, the right to healthcare, the right to food. And we are finding that in our country, within the immediate confines of our neighborhoods, so many children are falling prey to suffering from food insecurity. We are finding that children are being stunted. Your infants, children as a result are displaying irritability, hyperactivity, and are misdiagnosed and labeled as such. The underlying problem is, as you know, the root cause is the food insecurity. So people living under the poverty datum line is another concerning factor, that it's every child's right to have access to that. But even as far as education is concerned, we know that there are still many children who do not have identifying documents, and as a result have difficulty in being admitted into schools. And again, though, that needs to be fast-tracked. The resources need to be addressed and more support structures need to be made available and accessible, particularly in the rural areas and in the more impoverished communities. So we are dealing with a lot of challenges. If we look at the fact of the increased incidence of child pregnant learners, now these are children birthing children. Your 9-year-olds, your 10-year-olds, your 11 and 12-year-olds, they are not teenagers. They are children who are birthing children. They are children who have suddenly been robbed and disrupted of all opportunities to play, to laugh, to skip, to hop and jump, to be a child, to enjoy their growth and develop and flourish through life. Unfortunately, this is also another challenge. And if we look at the socioeconomic situation, we look at the systemic factors that contribute to this
Yeah.
kind of, scourge.
Yeah, Dr. Omar, you speak about the physio-socio ills that we have, and you also speak about the socio-economic ills that we have, and then we speak about the fact that there is a lot of work that is done rather by NGOs across the country to assist where they can, but government needs to come to the party here. So, what kind of work or interventions should we be seeing from government? Because with the pandemic, the high inflationary pressures, and just the cost of living crisis, consumers and households are under increasing pressure, and the tide doesn't look like it's about to change. So one would assume that urgent intervention needs to come in from government and not just the NGOs on their own.
Indeed, I think you've just hit the nail on the head. And it's not just one single government department. I think the important thing here, the key ingredient is coordination, collaboration, and integration. There then needs to be this coordinated effort by all government departments: education, housing, labor, sports and recreation, health, social development, and of course, civil society organizations, looking at the NGO sector, but also looking at the other community-based organizations, the faith-based organizations. And I think one of the key ingredients that we are currently faced with within the NGO sector is the constraints of funding. And I think that is really a huge setback, where many organizations are facing closure or finding themselves not being able to deliver what they have been mandated to or have promised to deliver to your recipients and beneficiaries on the ground, who are in grave need and in dire need and are at risk of further violation and trauma.
Thank you very much for those insights, Dr. Shaheda Omar, just giving us an update of the scourge of violence against children as we look at this day and what children go through, but also the interventions that can be made by government and related stakeholders. She is, of course, the clinical director at the Teddy Bear Clinic for abused children.